There are moments in history, rare and profound, when the veil between what we know and what we cannot comprehend thins to a whisper. Moments that challenge our very understanding of time, space, and the enduring human spirit. This is a story of such a moment, a ripple in the fabric of reality that began not with a bang, but with a ghost in the machine, a voice echoing from a past that refused to stay buried. It was 3:11 a.m., a quiet Tuesday morning, deep within the secure confines of a U.S. military radio station. The air hummed with the usual low thrum of dormant electronics and the distant, rhythmic sigh of the ventilation system. Specialist Ben Carter, a seasoned technician with a reputation for meticulousness and an uncanny ear for the subtle nuances of radio static, was on duty. He was monitoring a bank of silent frequencies, most of them decommissioned, their former purposes long since relegated to the dusty archives of military history. Among them was frequency Delta 7, a channel that had been officially taken offline, sealed and forgotten 6 years prior. Then, it happened. A sudden, sharp burst of white noise tore through the speakers, making Ben jump. It wasn't the usual, gentle hiss of atmospheric interference. It was a violent tear, a sonic rupture. His eyes darted to the console, the indicator light for Delta 7, a frequency that should have been utterly inert, was blinking an urgent, angry red. His heart hammered against his ribs. This was impossible. The frequency was dead. The transmitters were unpowered, yet an incoming signal was registering. Before Ben could even process the anomaly, the station's automatic logging system, a relic of an older era designed to record any unscheduled activity, whirred to life. It activated itself, bypassing all protocols, and began to capture the impossible transmission. Ben leaned closer, straining to hear over the sudden, inexplicable static. And then, a voice cut through the chaos. It was calm, disarmingly so, a male voice with a distinct American accent. It spoke with a measured cadence, each word carefully articulated, as if delivering a standard report. "This is Ecoseva," the voice stated, clear and unwavering. "We are not where we are supposed to be." A chill, colder than any deep-sea current, snaked down Ben's spine. Eco-7. The callsign felt ancient, almost forgotten. He frantically tried to trace the signal, inputting commands into the advanced tracking systems, but the readouts were a jumble of conflicting data. One screen flashed a coordinate somewhere over the Pacific, another pointed to a remote corner of Siberia, and a third simply displayed error, no source detected. It was as if the signal was coming from everywhere and nowhere all at once. It defied all known physics, all established methods of triangulation. The technical analysis that followed in the frantic hours after the initial contact only deepened the mystery. The signal itself was impossibly clean. It lacked the usual echoes, the atmospheric interference, the telltale degradation that any long-distance radio transmission, especially one from a decommissioned frequency, should exhibit. It was as if the voice was speaking directly into the receiver, without the vastness of space or the passage of time distorting it in any way. It was too perfect, too pristine. Linguistic experts, brought in under a veil of extreme secrecy, confirmed the initial impression. The male voice spoke with an American accent, undeniably, but the phrasing, the specific terminology, the subtle linguistic structures used, felt dated. It was consistent. They concluded, with military training materials from the early 1990s, a subtle linguistic fingerprint from a bygone era. 6 minutes after the first impossible call, the silence in the radio room was shattered once more. The Delta 7 light pulsed again, the automatic logger reactivated, and the voice of Eco-7 returned. This time, there was a subtle shift, a faint tremor of urgency beneath the calm. "If you're getting this," the voice said, "we've been here too long." The implications hit the handful of stunned personnel like a physical blow. "We've been here too long." Here? Where was here? And for how long? The questions hung heavy in the air, unanswered, terrifying. The search began, frantic and desperate, digging through decades of classified reports, archived mission logs, forgotten incident summaries, and then they found it. A faded yellowed mission report from 1993. Operation Chimera, a routine training exercise in a remote, mountainous region. A small, Specialized Reconnaissance Unit. Their callsign? Eco 7. The report detailed their sudden disappearance. No distress signal, no wreckage, no bodies, not a single trace ever found. They had vanished without a trace, swallowed by the earth, or perhaps by something far more profound. The incident from 1993 had been classified, the frequency decommissioned shortly after, and all logs sealed. A ghost story, whispered in hushed tones among a few veterans, but officially buried. Until now, until a voice from 30 years ago, from a missing unit, reached out across an impossible chasm of time, speaking on a frequency that shouldn't exist, from a location that couldn't be traced, uttering words that chilled the soul. Eco 7 was back. But where had they been? And why, after all these decades, were they only just now making contact? The silence that followed the second call was no longer just the absence of sound. It was the deafening roar of a universe suddenly far larger, far stranger than anyone had ever dared to imagine. The silence that followed the second call was no longer just the absence of sound. It was the deafening roar of a universe, suddenly far larger, far stranger than anyone had ever dared to imagine. It was a silence pregnant with impossible questions, questions that gnawed at the edges of reality itself. The initial shock gave way to a relentless, almost feverish investigation. Every available resource was thrown at understanding the impossible. The first anomaly, of course, was the signal's origin. Our planet is crisscrossed by a sophisticated web of tracking systems, satellites, and ground stations, designed to pinpoint the source of any electromagnetic emission, no matter how faint. Yet, when the Dela 7 frequency pulsed with Eco 7's desperate plea, these systems simply broke. They didn't just fail. They delivered contradictory, nonsensical data. Some indicated an origin point deep within the Pacific Ocean. Others pointed to the upper atmosphere above the Himalayas, while a few simply returned a blanket digital shrug as if the signal had materialized from nowhere and everywhere all at once. It was as if the very laws of physics, as we understood them, had momentarily bent, or perhaps shattered entirely, under the weight of this impossible transmission. Then there was the matter of the station's automatic logging system. Its activation was a profound violation of protocol, a mechanical defiance of its own programming. The transmitters were unpowered, dormant, cold. There was no incoming energy surge, no command input, nothing that should have triggered its recording function. Yet it hummed to life, its magnetic tape faithfully capturing every syllable, every tremor in Eco 7's voice. A silent, unblinking witness to the impossible. It was as if the message itself possessed an inherent will, an urgency so potent it bypassed all physical constraints, forcing its way into our reality, demanding to be heard. How could a signal from a decommissioned frequency reach a station with unpowered equipment, and then force that equipment to record it? The questions piled up, each one a heavier stone on the edifice of our scientific understanding. The technical analysis team, a cadre of brilliant but often cynical minds, found themselves grappling with data that defied their decades of experience. They meticulously dissected the signal, searching for any telltale signs, any familiar echoes of terrestrial interference, any atmospheric distortion. What they found, or rather, what they didn't find, was perhaps the most unsettling discovery of all. The signal was too clean. Impossibly clean. It lacked the usual atmospheric noise, the subtle crackle of static, the faint echoes that bounce off the ionosphere or distant land masses. It was pristine, as if it had traveled through a perfect vacuum, directly from source to receiver, utterly untouched by the 30 years of cosmic dust and electromagnetic chaos that should have degraded it. It was a clarity that transcended the natural world, a whisper from beyond the veil of conventional physics. Amidst the official chaos and the top-secret classifications, there was one individual whose meticulousness would prove pivotal. A junior technician, a quiet man named Elias Vance, responsible for routine maintenance and archiving. He was a stickler for detail. A man who believed that even the smallest anomaly held significance. While the senior brass debated the implications of temporal displacement and quantum entanglement, Elias, with a quiet stubbornness, made an unauthorized copy of the raw audio file. He wasn't driven by malice or defiance, but by an insatiable curiosity, a quiet conviction that something profound was being missed. He took the recording home, away from the sterile environment of the secure facility, and listened. He listened again and again, with a different set of headphones, on different systems, not just to the voice, but to the silence around it. And then he heard it. It wasn't static. It wasn't the white noise of a struggling signal. It was a subtle, almost imperceptible background hum, a whisper beneath Eco 7's calm voice. It was the sound of wind, but not the familiar rustle of leaves or the gentle breeze of an open field. This wind was fierce, a sustained, powerful roar, almost a shriek, with an unnerving consistency that spoke of vast, open spaces and extreme conditions. Elias, a keen amateur mountaineer, recognized the unique acoustic signature instantly. It was the sound of high-altitude wind, the kind that rips across barren peaks, unhindered by trees or structures, the kind that chills you to the bone even through layers of Arctic gear. It was the sound of a place incredibly high, incredibly exposed, and utterly desolate. This wasn't just a missing military unit. This was something else entirely. "We are not where we are supposed to be," Eco 7 had calmly stated. And now the background noise painted a chilling picture of asterisk, where asterisk they might be. Somewhere beyond the reach of our maps, our tracking systems. Somewhere so high that Earth's atmosphere barely clung to it. Somewhere where the wind screamed with the intensity of 1,000 unseen ghosts. The clean signal suddenly made sense. If they were beyond the atmospheric interference, the transmission would indeed be pristine. The untraceable origin, the unpowered logger, the outdated phrasing. It all coalesced into a terrifying narrative. Eco 7 wasn't just lost in time. They were lost in a place that defied comprehension, trapped in an impossible reality, suspended in an ethereal realm where the very air was a howling testament to their profound isolation. The implications were staggering. If they were experiencing high-altitude winds, where could they possibly be? On a mountain peak, previously unknown to man, reaching into the very stratosphere, or perhaps somewhere far, far beyond, in a vacuum that still somehow permitted the passage of sound, a paradox wrapped in an enigma. This wasn't just a military mystery. It was a fundamental challenge to our understanding of existence, a profound question mark etched into the fabric of the cosmos. It was a testament to the human spirit that even in the face of such overwhelming impossibility, the drive to understand, to connect, to solve the puzzle, only intensified. The universe had just revealed a new, terrifying dimension, and the inheritors of this strange message were left to wonder. What exactly did too long mean when measured against such an unfathomable journey? And what would happen if someone, anyone, dared to answer? The implications were indeed staggering. If they were experiencing high-altitude winds, where could they possibly be? On a mountain peak, previously unknown to man, reaching into the very stratosphere, or perhaps somewhere far, far beyond. In a vacuum that still somehow permitted the passage of sound, a paradox wrapped in an enigma. This wasn't just a military mystery. It was a fundamental challenge to our understanding of existence, a profound question mark etched into the fabric of the cosmos. It was a testament to the human spirit that even in the face of such overwhelming impossibility, the drive to understand, to connect, to solve the puzzle, only intensified. The universe had just revealed a new, terrifying dimension, and we, the inheritors of this strange message, were left to wonder. What exactly did too long mean when measured against such an unfathomable journey? And what would happen if someone, anyone, dared to answer? The questions hung in the air, heavy and resonant, far more impactful than any silence. Why now? Why did this signal, originating from a unit lost in 1993, choose this specific moment, 30 years later, to pierce the veil between what was and what shouldn't be? Was it a temporal anomaly? A ripple in the fabric of time itself, finally reaching our shore? Or was it something more deliberate, a last, desperate act of communication from a place so remote, so utterly isolated, that the very act of transmission was a monumental struggle against impossible odds? The sheer tenacity implied by that second call, "If you're getting this, we've been here too long," spoke volumes of an enduring struggle, a constant effort to break through, year after year, until finally something shifted. It wasn't just a message. It was a testament to an indomitable will, a voice refusing to be silenced by the cruel indifference of the unknown. And where had Yuka 7 been for the past 3 decades? The high-altitude wind, the clean signal, the untraceable origin. It all pointed to a location beyond our current understanding. Was it a pocket dimension? A tear in reality that swallowed them whole? Or had they, by some unimaginable twist of fate, transcended our physical plane, existing in a state of suspended animation, observing our world from a vantage point we couldn't even begin to comprehend? The thought was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. To be lost, not just geographically, but existentially, for 30 years, yet still retain the clarity of mind to send a message, to articulate their plight with such calm precision. It spoke to a profound resilience, a human spirit that refused to crumble even when confronted with the ultimate Eco 7 was not merely a missing unit. They were an enduring symbol of humanity's stubborn refusal to surrender to the void, a beacon of perseverance shining from an impossible darkness. But the most profound question, the one that truly stirred the depths of our collective consciousness, was this: what if someone answered? The incident was classified, the frequency decommissioned, the logs sealed. The system was designed to prevent any response, to bury the anomaly. But what if a technician, like the one who copied the audio, felt an irresistible urge to respond? What would they say?
Eco 7, this is Earth. Do you read?
And what would be the consequence? Would it open a portal, bridge a gap, or shatter a barrier that was never meant to be crossed? Would it offer solace to those lost, or would it simply confirm their isolation, their profound separation from everything they once knew? To answer would be an act of immense courage, a leap of faith into an abyss of the unknown. It would be an acknowledgement that there are realities beyond our grasp, mysteries that defy our science, and connections that transcend time and space. It would be a recognition of a shared humanity, extending a hand across a chasm of 30 years and unimaginable distances. It would be an affirmation of our innate desire to seek out the lost, to understand the inexplicable, and to confront the boundaries of our own existence. The story of Eco 7, whispered across a decommissioned frequency on a cold, early morning, isn't just a chilling tale of a military unit gone astray. It's a profound narrative about the human spirit's enduring power in the face of the incomprehensible. It reminds us that even when confronted with the ultimate loss, the deepest mystery and the most isolating of circumstances, the drive to communicate, to connect, to simply say we are here or we are not, where we are supposed to be, it's a call to look beyond the mundane, to question the boundaries of what we believe is possible. It asks us to consider the courage it takes to endure, to hope, and to reach out when all seems lost. Eco 7's message, arriving from a place and time that defy our understanding, serves as a powerful reminder that the universe is far vaster, far stranger, and far more filled with wonder than we can ever imagine. And within that vastness, the human spirit, with its indomitable will to survive, to communicate, and to seek understanding, shines as brightly as any distant star. Perhaps the true purpose of Eco 7's call wasn't just to be heard, but to awaken something within us, to stir our curiosity, to challenge our assumptions, and to inspire us to never stop searching, never stop listening, and never stop reaching out into the profound, beautiful, and sometimes terrifying unknown. For in every unanswered question, in every unexplained phenomenon, lies an invitation to explore, to learn, and to grow, pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human in a universe full of unimaginable possibilities. And perhaps, just perhaps, the courage to listen and the willingness to wonder is an answer in itself.